What's up, everybody? Brian Wetstein here again to bring you another review. It is the Fallen Heroes EP by a band called Metal Allegiance. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite bands. Metal Allegiance is a supergroup comprised of a rotating cast of musicians, mainly singers, and some guest guitars, but they mainly have a core of the man, the legend, the master, Mike Portnoy, best known for his work with Dream Theater, short time with Avenged Sevenfold, and right now with the Winery Dogs on the drums. He's one of my favorite drummers. Love listening to him. Testament guitarist Alex Skolnick, it's tough pronunciation for me, and Mark Mingy, again, pronunciation problems, me, hate me. He's on the bass. It used to have Megadeth bassist David Effelson rotating with Mark for time, and then he's gone out with Megadeth for now. So mostly a rotating cast of singers comes out of this. There's been many singers from, the Slayer, Anthrax, Lamb of God, and many, many others. The new voices, the old voices, the legendary, the up-and-coming. You make a name for yourself in metal, you may be in this band for one concert, one song, whatever. Released an album in September of last year of 9 original songs with one cover song, and the album Fallen Heroes is nothing but covers. So what they did with this album is paid homage to 3 legends that have left us unexpectedly this past year. The first one, late December, the god of metal, Lemmy Kilmister. Frontman for Motorhead, did vocals, bass. 13 days later, David Bowie passed. It was like 2 weeks later we lost Glenn Frey of the Eagles. Literally, after Glenn Frey died, Mark Mingy calls Mike Portnoy the next day saying, "You just want to do 3 songs for these guys?" And Mike was like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's go do it tomorrow. I got my drum set up." So they go the next day, record drums, and then record guitars the next day, and then they send out vocals because they need guest vocalists because they don't have a set vocalist. So what do? They get the perfect vocalists for their songs. We're going to start out with the Motorhead cover. So for this, instead of doing Ace of Spades, because there's so many covers of it, they do the song Iron Fist, the title track from Motorhead's 1982 album. And for the song, they picked Mastodon bassist frontman. Frontman's a little ambiguous with Mastodon, as 3 of the members are lead singers, similar to how the Eagles were. But they get Troy Sanders, the bassist for Mastodon. And when I was listening to this track, which is the closest to the original song when it comes to the 3 covers that Metal Allegiance did, being that it's the only metal song. So this song was very close to the original, probably as close as you can be. The only difference is better production, as this was 34 years, and this is 34 years into the future. And Troy Sanders' voice. Now, Troy Sanders, his performance was very Lemmy performance. I mean, he sounded a lot like a young Lemmy who didn't sound like he was a smoker since birth. So yeah, it's a less raspy vocals, but it is a Lemmy style vocals, which I think Troy Sanders has been doing something similar to that for years with Mastodon, and I honestly think that this Lemmy was one of his biggest influences in singing, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if I actually looked that up and found that out. So he does his best Lemmy impression, his inner Lemmy, if you will, and just absolutely nailed it. Just perfect. The song was perfect. The guys in the band just did a great job covering the song and paying homage to just Motorhead in general, and then Troy Sanders being probably the best Lemmy that's not Lemmy that we can probably get out of one of those famous metal singers. The next song that was the David Bowie song, Suffragette City. This song was first debuted in 1972 off The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Suffragette City is probably the most upbeat, most rockin' song on this album. Actually, it's not if, maybe. It is the most upbeat song on this album. And honestly, probably one of the more rocking tunes in David Bowie's discography. And so it was obvious choice for Metal Allegiance to pick this rockin' song, Suffragette City, and to make a metal rendition out of it. And this is what was scaring me about this record, was how close were they going to be to the original. I knew they were going to give a metal performance, but what would they do with the riffs? The signature riffs of these songs. We'll get into the next one shortly. And that would be you don't change it up a little bit. Obviously the guitars are set to more of a metal distortion theme tuning, but it does sound, they don't try to make it deep like any hardcore brutal type guitars. It's just simple guitars, simple sounding metal guitars that keep the original riffs, which I'm sure they would have done anyway, but I was just worried about how it would sound. And it actually sounded really, really good. And Portnoy, this was, of course, these you gotta have metal drums, and he flat out destroyed it because he is the master of metal drums. And of course, the other two members, they do good. I mean, the production of this song is also great too. You hear a fair amount of bass and guitar, and they do. Alex and Mark do very well. And then they bring on Mark Oswega. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't know how to pronounce a lot of these people's names, if you can't tell. I want to say that he was the front man for a band called Death Angel. So he's frontman for Death Angel, probably the biggest Bowie enthusiast of the group, the group of musicians that came on for Metal Allegiance for this. I can't really say he sounded that much like Bowie, but I'm not sure that he was trying to sound that much like Bowie, because you gotta be natural and not force it. And he didn't force it. He just belted out what he felt was natural, that was good enough to pay homage to Bowie, but not try to force himself. And with that, puts in your best performance, which he did, and he nails it, and just has like that kind of coolness, swag to him. Dare I use that word? That vocals, I love everything about it. He does so good, and it reminded me of the song and how great that song was, and how great that it can still be if you just do something creative with it, as long as you make it good creative. So Mark Oswega, he gives a amazing performance. I love it, and everybody else in the band gives a great performance to help make this song feel like a natural metal song. If you had not listened to Suffragette City, the original by Bowie, and you went and listened to this song, you thought it was just a better production cover of a wacky 70s metal song. Although it's not. It's just a normal rock and roll song by a guy who's not necessarily normal. So the third track is the Eagles cover. Now this is the one that scared me the most. They released the track listing for this album, the Fallen Heroes EP, and I saw the two songs that they were gonna do that weren't the metal songs. Like I said earlier, I had my worries. With the Suffragette City, I could, because of what more of a rockin' song that it is, I could easily see how they could get the metal and yet rendition of it. And yet it still surprised me when I heard it, because maybe it was what I was expecting, but of how well it was, kind of just was what blew me away. And with Life in the Fast Lane, the Glenn Frey song, Eagles song, I wasn't really sure what to expect or how they were going to do it. But they did it. They made a metal rendition of Life in the Fast Lane. Yes, this is a more rockin' tune if you know and you've heard it. But it just seems hard to make a metal song out of that for me when I listen to the original song. But Metal Allegiance somehow does it because they are just that dang good. Yeah. It keeps the original riffs, has a great guitar solo. Of course, still sounds metal. I want to say, like, the opening riff, you can definitely tell this is Life in the Fast Lane. You get into the verse a little bit, this is more metal to me, and I have a hard time hearing any of the original riffs. That they're there, and I know they're there, but for me to hear it is not as easy. And then Portnoy again just kind of kills me on how well he can play the drums with this and how creative he can be. Because honestly, if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure how metal these songs would sound. Because again, with this song, it sounds like like they're covering a classic metal song or hard rock song rather than a rock and roll song. And to me, the Eagles had like a more of a southern rock type style, and nonetheless, with Life in the Fast Lane, it was just a more upbeat rocking tune. And for the track, they got to sing vocals. The amazing Alissa White-Gluz, who is best known as frontwoman for the death metal band Arch Enemy. Death metal. A woman. But don't think that she does death metal screams in the song. Now, there is a part in the song where she does have more of a gruntal voice, but that only lasts like 2 seconds, so you don't have much to worry about there. She's actually a very talented singer. In fact, one of the most versatile singers I have heard in a long time. You go look at her work with the band Camelot. Better than on the Camelot song Liar Liar, where she has both, and it's a little bit more of an operatic, clean vocal singing. And she also appeared on the first Metal Allegiance album on the We Rock. And then with Life in the Fast Lane was something I have never heard before from her. Just the way she sang, it was beautiful. It was amazing. Exactly how to describe the style is still out of my reach because I'm not exactly sure how to. There was like some layers where it sounded like she recorded multiple tracks for the singing, which I think she needed to do considering all the background vocals of the Eagles that they did for the original song, and she flat out destroyed it. She didn't destroy the song in a bad way. She blew me away. I get goosebumps listening to this song. Vocally, this is probably my favorite cover, even though it wasn't the original, as close to the original as like Troy Sanders. But I just feel like this was the best vocal performance in my opinion, not just because she can flat out sing, and is really what made the song for me. That and Portnoy's drums. Duh. But, yeah, that's about all I got, and this is just a great album. Metal Allegiance, Fallen Heroes. listen to it. If you have not been, if you don't listen to metal often and like you want to give metal a listen, I recommend the Fallen Heroes EP or even their debut album, which gives you I really think introduces people to a lot of different metal styles and vocal styles through the 9 original songs and then the We Rock cover. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. You liked it, like it. We want to hear more stuff, metal stuff, any other stuff. Comment and tell me what you want to hear me do. Thank you. Subscribe. Ask for more videos.